Hi, I'm going to continue on the example I started last week with the phone, and now I have my Xamarin Android app that's MDriven on my device, and let's see if I restart it. I'm gonna kill it and then start it. And what I did was a small I started on a small system to keep track on things in a storage facility. And for starters, you have to build up the storage facility. You have to be able to add shelves. So I have assumed that the shelves and the items on the shelves all have barcodes or QR codes of some sort. So there's an action in my app, scan shelf. Let's push that one and we enter the scanning form. And I have some invoices here that I thought I could use as barcodes or QR codes. Scan this one, it's a bit dark, putting on the flash. Like that. And then I have the shelf, and then I want to scan items on this shelf. I'm going to take another code on this one, that one maybe, like that. That's one item. Let's see if I have another sucker here, and oops, not now, no, okay, that's a problem with the phones, always someone talking to you. Scan another item and scan this one. Like that. Now I have two items on one shelf, and I'm pressing sync on that. Not much of a visual feedback on that button, but I think it took. And then it pops up here on the screen. And it says it has two items, and as you hopefully can see, they are the same. So pretty cool. Now I have a MDriven application with one model here, and another MDriven application with another model here. And let's look at the server model. It's this one. And what I did was I got shelf create request with a transient shelf and a transient item, and then I created the shelves and the shelves item. So the phone model, can look at that as well. It's this one. It's basically, when I started doing this, I started to plan my work. What do I need? I did it with the Enterprise Architect functionality, and designed a few of the processes that I need to do this. And the one that I've implemented now was the storage builder. Scan a shelf and scan items on the shelf and then sync them to the server. And to back this up, I have a view model that basically sends JSON to the server, and then the server interprets the JSON with JSON to objects and does work from there. So it's all pretty declaratively done and not much code at all. And taking a little bit of a deeper look at this, the build storage and the sync action, JSON to send, where does it come from? In the sync action, which is sync action is backed by this action here, this sync this action, and execute expression is this. What it says, it is grabbing view model as JSON, and the view model name is JSON for shelf create request, and the root for this is the vfound shelf. Okay, vfound shelf, what is that? The vfound shelf is is this one, and that comes from us scanning a shelf. So the scanning a shelf is this action, and it brings up a view model I call scanner with a root object scan result transient. And when we press OK in the scanner, when we're done, we do this expression of the model OK, and we create a found shelf, and we set the found shelf's barcode to the barcode that we found in the scanner. Nothing to it. So sync this, if we're back to this one, makes JSON out of something that's formed by this view model, JSON for shelf create request. Let's see, JSON for shelf create request. It's rooted in a found shelf, and it takes all the found shelfable items and gets their barcodes, and it also has the barcode for the found shelf. So doing this in MDriven, we can actually try everything out before even getting to the phone, and that's actually quite an advantage. I just need to check one thing, the build storage, because I think I had this server address to localhost, but what I need it to be now is the demoazurewebsites.net, because I want it on the server. I'm not gonna run this locally now. So where did it go? Where did it go? Here. I'm gonna change this one to demo Azure websites, like that, and then simply press play in the model, start the system, and it's running against the local XML storage, because this is actually the phone system. And I'm going into the run model and continue modeling, and I have an action show main, and this takes me to the one that I want to do now, build storage. So scan shelf is not set, and there are no items, and I also put the variable to show the JSON that I will send. So I'm going to scan the shelf, and this is just a view model to mimic the functionality I'm going to put on the phone to actually start the camera and catch a a barcode. But here I just simulate that I find a barcode ABC and press OK. And when I'm pressing OK, the found shelf will be created with the barcode ABC. I can scan some items in a similar fashion, and I call the first one 1, 2, 3, and another item 2, 3, 4, like that. And now I have these items. Let's look in the model what we have. It's the found shelf with the found shelfable items, and these actually inherit, since the package has the default superclass base data class, and the base data class, and the base data class is this class that has the barcode. So as I've done that, I should be able to sync this. And let's look at this one below it, like that, maybe. And when I sync this, I'm sending this JSON barcode ABC, found shelfable items, barcode 1, 2, 3, barcode 2, 3, 4, and it pops up on the server. And when I click that, I have the barcodes here. So I'm able to prototype and simulate everything that I need to have my system working, and that's actually a big advantage. Later on, when I'm on the phone, I have checked the code gen of my view model, and we can actually open that project up in Visual Studio. It's a Xamarin Forms project, and it's called, let's see, app 4. So I don't know what this one is doing. Let's look at this then. I have the portable with MDriven project. That's a portable class library, and that will work on Xamarin and iOS, or rather Android and iOS, etc. And that's the model that I've used. And these are the code generated view models, the built storage that I was showing before. And that's the built storage view model, and here it is in code. Just a click and then you have it in code. And having it in code enables you to skip writing a view model here, because you already have it. You just add a new page, a build storage page. And on the phone we don't have the automatic generated UI. You have to write the UI yourself, and in Xamarin Forms you do it with a XAML-like syntax. But what we do in our build storage page, which I call the view, is actually just getting a hold of the eco space and creating the build storage view model. And here I also set the server address in the phone, because I couldn't run it against the local machine, because this uses HTTPS and the server certificate is wrong, etc., etc. So you know the drill. And doing this, I have full access to the data to bind to it, and here are the actions. I have one for scan shelf, scan item, and sync, and then I bind the data, the scanned shelf, and the JSON to send. I also put that on the form to make it easy for debugging. That would probably be dropped before production. And then I have an item list view that follows the association or the nesting in the view model, found shelfable item list. And if you remember, we will find that in here. That's this one. So we're going that, and then we should find the barcode. And the barcode is, let's see, list item, label, barcode. So there's the barcode. So very easy to just write up the sample for the view. Let's look at these actions: scan shelf, scan item, and sync. So what the scan shelf does, it's opening up a setSing scanner page, which is the component that we use for this, and it waits for the scanner result, and when it's done, it closes the window and gets the scan result. And then I'm back to the view model. I get the VM variables and we found shelf and assign it a new shelf, assigning the barcode the scan result. So again, it's really easy to work with the code generated artifacts from our model and from our view models. So this is from our model. Like here. And we assign it to this variable in the view model that I had defined here, the found shelf. And that's also this found shelf where I write out the scan shelf and follow to the shelfable items. And when I scan an item, I do the same thing. I catch the scanned result, and here I get the found shelf and follow the link to shelfable items, and I add a new found shelfable item and set the barcode to the scanned result. And then when it's time to sync, I just again get the view model and execute the named action, which is called sync this. And that action was actually this one, sync this. And what that does is doing this in OCL, grabbing the JSON from this view model that will be okay for us to use, and then it's calling the server with the server address with a turnkey REST post, and the command is shelf create request REST, and that is actually a view model on the server. And we say that you're gonna find the data for this post in this nesting, data for sync post, and that's the nesting that's here. And what it contains is the barcode, the ID, and the most important, the JSON. It's called the JSON. So what does this mean then? Well, if we were to move back to the server model, we should find this view model that where we receive it, shelf create request rest. This was the one that received the information, and whenever we get a post like this, we execute actions that's on top, and then we assign all the properties that are in between, and when that is done we execute the actions on below. So we start by creating a new request, shelf create request, which is a model object, and assign it to a variable. And also we receive we match what's coming in the post request, the JSON, and that ends up in the new request, the JSON. All right, and then when that is done, we execute this action, and there's quite a lot going on. What does it do? Well, it's nothing too mysterious. It calls JSON to objects with the JSON that we got. So it's creating objects from the JSON we got, and it's stating here that it should return or create the things starting from transient shelf. So transient shelf is actually a model class here, and you see this one has the same name, found shelfable item list, as we find in the JSON. So when the JSON is interpreted, it will find this, and then it will automatically create the transient items for each item that I have scanned. And of course I've called these transient because they are marked as persistent false. So these will only exist in memory and be washed away when appropriate. But that will not do, because we need the information, we're going to save it. So why do we do this? Well, now we have the transient hierarchy of the information, and we are done with the JSON, because now we have interpreted JSON. And then we can use that, and we assign a link to an existing shelf, a correct shelf, if we find one, because we match on the shelf barcode with the barcode that we got in and put in the transient. If there is one, this will be assigned. Good. But what if there is none? Well, we're gonna come back to that. But for the transient shelf found shelfable item list, we collect over that as well. These are the items that we have found, that we got from the JSON that we created objects for, transient objects. And we collect over that, and we assign a correct shelfable item if we have a match on the existing ones on the barcode. So now we have dressed the transient with the pointers to the correct ones if they exist. Now we enter the section which I call creation. So if there is no shelf, it returned null here, didn't find one, then we create a new shelf. And the new shelf we created, we assign the barcode to the transient barcode. Otherwise we don't do anything. Okay, and for the shelfable items, we collect all that don't have a real item where it's empty, and then we create a shelf item, a correct shelf item, and assign the barcode. So this is really just one way to think through what you need to do to sync from the object space that you have on the phone, and how to react to it on the server. And your rules may be different, but they should be all clear in the OCL, which are kept in the model and fully documented. So having done that, we can actually we're done. That was what I had in mind to show you for today. Just a quick note that we now also have the MVC going. So normally when you do views in the web UI, you get this Angular implementation, which is super cool. And but it comes with a sort of a cost. If you have 1 million users on your site, you might not want to use up the server resources that are needed to back this. And then of course there's the MVC. So this is the same view model, but renders as MVC instead. And it behaves a little different, but functionality is very much exactly the same. So good to know. Thank you for listening.